Make him lose you, not by blocking him or disappearing, but because this time he truly no longer has you. When a woman stops being available but remains centered in herself, a man's ego can't handle it, and his mind starts searching for her without understanding why. Today I'm going to reveal how to make that happen in 5 steps, how to activate that fear in him, how to leave a mark that's impossible to erase, and how to hold on to your worth when he comes back looking for what he's no longer sure he deserves. I ask you to watch this powerful video until the very end, because in the final step, you'll become something you never thought you could be. So go ahead and hit the like button now and subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps me a lot. Share this video with someone you know who needs to hear it. Ready? Let's go. Step 1. Disappear emotionally, not physically. How to let go without cutting contact and still keep his mind chasing you. You don't need to block him. You don't need to delete him from everywhere. You don't need to say, "I don't want anything to do with you anymore." That only feeds his ego, because an immature man doesn't interpret that as detachment. He interprets it as you still caring way too much. And here's the truth no one tells you. What triggers his fear of losing you isn't your physical disappearance. It's that you remove yourself from where you really matter. His emotional map. As long as you're still emotionally available, even if you're not calling, even if you say you've let go, he feels it. And as long as he feels it, he doesn't react. Carl Jung said that the unconscious runs your life and you call it fate. But in relationships, what drives his reaction to you isn't your body, your silence, or your words. It's the emotion he still senses coming from you, even if you say nothing. As long as he senses you're still tuned in, still alert, still watching him from your inner world, his ego stays comfortable. Because a man doesn't fear losing someone he still feels emotionally tethered to. He fears losing the one who no longer sees him the same way, even if she's still physically there. And this is where the most powerful thing you can do comes in. Disappear emotionally, not physically. It's not about blocking him or vanishing from the map. That's easy. What's hard and what truly disarms him is being present without being emotionally invested. Staying grounded, but not giving him your center. Let me explain it clearly. When a woman stays in her power, keeps smiling, keeps flowing with life, keeps posting, walking, shining, without being emotionally tied to his reactions, his presence, or his attention, that's when he starts feeling like he's losing her. And he doesn't know why, because you didn't say you were leaving, you didn't make a scene, you didn't close the door, you just quietly withdrew from within. And that is a man's biggest fear when he thought he had you secured. Your body is still there. Your photos, your old messages, your digital fingerprints, they all still exist. But your emotion is no longer tied to him, and that throws him off. He starts noticing subtle things, that you don't react like you used to, that your words don't carry the same energy, that you're not as available as before, even though you haven't done anything dramatic. And that silent shift, that's what triggers his search. Because his ego can't stand that someone who once looked at him with such intensity now sees him with peace, and nothing unsettles him more than that. Let me tell you something a woman once shared with me in a session. Her story went, "I didn't block him. I didn't unfollow him. I just stopped looking at him the same way. I stopped radiating that anxious need for his attention. And Gabriel, I swear to you, on the 3rd day, he wrote to me like he knew he didn't have me where he used to. And that is the key, because when he feels you no longer see him the same way, his system goes into crisis. Not because he suddenly realizes your worth, but because he lost the source that made him feel powerful." And here comes the powerful realization. Disappearing physically might give you a break, but disappearing emotionally, that's what truly confronts him with his deepest fear. Losing the source that once fed his ego. You don't have to become invisible. You just have to stop vibrating from, "I'm waiting for you," and start vibrating from, "I've already found myself." That's when he gets restless. That's when he starts looking for you. That's when he starts wondering what happened. That's when he starts thinking about you more than ever. Not because you're trying to make him, but because you stopped holding him up. And the most magical part? You don't have to do anything. Just reprogram yourself from within so that he's no longer the center by which you measure your value. And when that happens, when his soul feels it, he starts thinking about you, remembering you, imagining you. Because what left in silence makes the loudest noise in his mind later. So don't leave in body. Stay, but stay in you. And let him feel what he never thought he would. The real threat of losing you. The peace that no longer includes his presence. And now that you know how that first shift happens, get ready for the next one. How to stop being predictable to him and become the kind of presence he can no longer anticipate or replace. Step 2. Stop being insurable. How to eliminate the predictability that makes him feel he always has you. Before we continue, if this message is already stirring something inside you, hit that like button and subscribe right now. That tells YouTube this content matters and it helps spread the message. Thank you so much. There's a quiet way that many women turn into something a man believes he can pause, shelve, ignore, and come back to whenever he wants. And it's not because you're not worthy. It's not because he doesn't care. It's because, without realizing it, you've become predictable. Predictable in your emotion, predictable in your reaction, predictable in your presence. And predictability isn't valued, it's taken for granted. Because what he can anticipate, he feels he can control. And what he feels he can control doesn't move him emotionally. His mind just says, she'll still be there anyway. Every time you respond quickly, even when he takes days to reply, every time you explain how you feel, even though he didn't ask, every time you reach out, even when you know you're not being reciprocated, you're sending him a message without even realizing it. I'm secure for you, even if you do nothing to hold me. And that's the energetic message that lulls him, calms him, distances him. Here's the hard truth. He doesn't pull away because he doesn't care. He pulls away because he feels like he can always come back. Carl Jung once said, "What is not transformed is repeated." And if you don't transform the pattern of being emotionally available on autopilot, you'll keep repeating relationships where they only choose you when you're already walking away. That's why, if you want to activate the fear of losing you in his unconscious, if you want his mind to start wondering, do I still have her? Then you need to disappear from his predictable emotional pattern. And this isn't done through coldness. It's done with wisdom. Let me tell you a true story. Lucy, 34, told me, I was always there. I always responded. I always made time for him, until one day I stopped being so available. I replied later, I chose to tell him I couldn't. I started prioritizing my own things. And that man became someone else. He reached out more. He showed up more. He even started talking about the future, something he never used to do. And do you know what changed? It wasn't his interest. It was his perception of certainty. Once he was no longer sure he could come back whenever he wanted, he started valuing every interaction. He started paying attention. He started thinking about her. Because a man only starts to fear losing you when he's no longer sure he has you. And for that to happen, you need to stop being automatically accessible. Not as punishment, not out of revenge, but because your life is full enough for him to realize that if he doesn't choose you well, he could lose you for good. And that's where the most powerful shift begins. When you become emotionally unpredictable, but stable within yourself, he no longer knows how to keep the fantasy alive that he's got you locked in. And in that space of uncertainty, his instincts kick in. He no longer knows if you'll respond the same way. He no longer knows if you're still waiting. He no longer knows if this time you're really not going to be there forever. And that shakes him to his core. Because you used to be his silent refuge. The one he didn't value because he thought you'd always be there. But now, you're the possibility he could lose. And that wakes him up. And I'm going to tell you how to do this. Without pretending, without manipulating, without playing games. How to stop being insurable without disconnecting from yourself. 1. Don't reply instantly, not because you're busy, but because now you choose where your energy goes. Your attention is a privilege, not a reflex. 2. Don't explain what wasn't asked. If he's not emotionally present, don't justify yourself. Let your absence speak louder than your reasons. 3. Don't cancel your own plans to see him, Don't rearrange your life to fit his schedule. Let him know. If he doesn't plan with you, he loses you from his plans. 4. Don't keep the connection alive with little micro interactions. Stop replying with emojis, hearts, or laughs. If he's not giving you depth, don't give him shallow access. And do you know what happens when you apply this authentically? He starts to feel like he doesn't know you as well as he thought. And when he no longer feels in control, that's when his desire becomes conscious. Because now he doesn't have you. And if he doesn't have you, he could lose you. And if he could lose you, he starts to value you. And just when that happens, when he begins to feel that invisible loss, the most powerful part of all begins. How to be present in his world without saying a word, yet still have him think about you more than ever. That's what we discover in the next step. Step 3. Activate your indirect presence. How to be in his world without chasing him and still make everything remind him of you. There's something no woman fully understands until she lives it. You can be completely silent, not reaching out, not talking to him, not doing anything. And still his mind can't stop thinking about you. Not because you're playing games, not because you're doing something clever, but because you gave him something he can't replicate with anyone else. And that wasn't your body, it wasn't your beauty, it wasn't even your attention. It was the emotional experience he had with you. And now he no longer has it. Carl Jung said that any relationship that isn't consciously closed stays open in the unconscious. And when a man didn't realize the real value of a woman while he had her, but that woman walks away without shouting, without begging, without causing harm, he gets trapped in that invisible space his mind can't close. That space becomes a presence that won't let him go, a sensation he can't shake, an idea that lingers even when he tries to ignore it. And that idea is you, not because you're talking to him, but because you aren't. And here lies the great secret. When you're no longer there to distract him with your constant presence, he's left alone with what you made him feel. And if that was real, it haunts him. Let me tell you a story to make it even clearer. Ava, 43, told me, I didn't text him anymore. I didn't chase him. I didn't talk to him. But I didn't leave like a victim. I left from a place of certainty. I left without anger, without revenge, without needing him to understand. And a month later, he wrote to me. He said, I don't know what's happening to me, but I can't stop thinking about you. Everything reminds me of you, and I don't even know why. But now that you're gone, I feel you even more. Do you know why he said that? Because when she stopped actively giving him her energy, the only thing he had left of her was her memory. And that memory, because it wasn't being drowned out by new emotions or new updates, started to grow. It took on shape. It began to echo. Because indirect presence isn't a tactic. It's the result of having been so emotionally present in his world that when you leave with peace, your absence screams, your silence weighs, your image becomes a symbol. And now, he feels it. When he goes to that place where you two used to go together, when he hears that song he never listened to with anyone else, when someone says something you used to say, when he sees a woman who reminds him of what you were, that's indirect presence. And the most incredible part is this: you can stay in his world without doing a single thing to be there. Because when you stop chasing him, not out of anger, not with coldness, but with dignity, your departure leaves an emotional echo inside him. An echo that bounces around in all the places where you once existed. An echo he can't silence. And I'll tell you how to activate that presence without forcing anything. How to stay in his mind without pursuing him. Withdraw without noise. The woman who leaves without needing explanations, who says something clear and calm like, what I gave with my soul, and now it's time I give to myself. She's remembered far more powerfully than the one who slams the door yelling, don't erase your tracks. Leave emotional traces. Don't delete your photos or your posts. Don't wipe out every trace of yourself. Your emotional mark can't be deleted with clicks. It strengthens in the things he can still see, but can no longer touch. Make your personal growth visible, not by talking about him, not with passive-aggressive posts, but by clearly showing that you're moving forward. A woman who keeps growing while he's gone triggers in him the real sensation of loss. Change your energy without changing your essence. Don't become someone else. Return to yourself, to that version of you that didn't need external validation to feel alive. That creates the most impact. The feeling that you are still you, but now without him. And his ego can't understand that, but his soul feels it. Here comes the most powerful truth of this principle. It's not what you do. It's what marks him. It's what you were and what's no longer there. He doesn't come back because you said something. He comes back because now he realizes you don't need him. And there's no greater blow to a man's ego than feeling replaceable to a woman who once loved him from the soul. And if there's anything real inside him, that absence becomes a question, becomes a weight, becomes desire. And even if there's nothing real left, he'll still feel it. Because even the most emotionally disconnected man cannot ignore the absence of a woman who left from a place of power. And now what comes next? We move on to the step where everything reverses. Because once you're gone and he starts feeling you in everything, that's when fear sets in. And with fear comes reaction. And when he reacts, he might come back. But if he does, what do you do with that? That's what we'll resolve in the next step. Step 4, your absence as a detonator. How to create an emotional void that confronts him with the loss before it happens. There's a precise moment, an exact point, when your presence is no longer there to hold him up. And he feels it like an internal fracture. He doesn't say it, he doesn't understand it, but his body registers it, and his mind starts defending itself. Because it wasn't that you blocked him. It wasn't that you disappeared in dramatic fashion. You didn't make a scene. You didn't give a warning. You simply stopped being there like before. And that doesn't cause confusion. It causes vertigo. Because when a woman walks away with serenity, with the certainty that she no longer needs validation, she doesn't leave behind an absence. She leaves a void. And that void, no one else can fill. Carl Jung said that the male unconscious is constantly searching for what the ego neglected. And when his ego felt too sure of itself, when he took you for granted, when he had you without deserving you, he starts losing what he never valued, without even knowing why it hurts so much. That's the moment your absence becomes a detonator, because he's not reacting to the fact that you no longer talk to him. He's reacting to the fact that your soul no longer sees him as the center. And even if everything looks normal on the outside, inside there's a voice telling him, she doesn't vibrate for me anymore. And that's not just strange to him, it's unbearable. Because his ego no longer has a source to feed from. No more looks to confirm him, no more texts to reconcile him with his power. No more signs of that version of you who used to give everything. And that's when the silent storm begins. He starts asking himself questions he never asked before. He starts imagining you with someone else. He starts comparing, checking your social media, reliving moments. Not with gratitude, but with anxiety, because the ego doesn't want to lose. And for the first time, he feels he could actually lose you. And that's when he reacts. Not because he suddenly understands your worth, not because he wants to love you better, but because his emotional system has gone into panic mode. You were leaving, but he never believed you'd go without a fight, without a complaint, without asking him to stay. And now that you're not even there to say goodbye, he starts to realize what he lost wasn't just a woman, he lost an experience. He lost a connection that only existed with you. And that can't be replicated. It can't be substituted. It can't be replaced. And here's something very few women understand. When you leave from pain, he reacts just to calm you down. But when you leave from peace, he reacts because he knows he no longer has power over you. And that difference changes everything. Because what he can't control begins to obsess him. And now, you've become his internal question. That lingering doubt that follows him when he tries to distract himself, when he looks happy on social media, when he smiles with someone else, but then stares into nothingness. Because his soul knows something is missing. And worst of all, he doesn't know if he can get it back. That's what triggers his fear. Not your silence as punishment, not your absence as revenge, but your void as reality, your emotional unavailability as a signal, your new life without his name in it as proof. And now, he's confronted. He starts checking your social media. He reacts to something you posted. He sends a meaningless, "Hey." He pops back up like nothing happened. But his nothing no longer touches you because you're no longer there emotionally. And that destroys him. Because to him, you were that safe source, the woman who always waited, even when he made you wait, that emotional constant that kept his ego propped up. And now you're a living memory that haunts him. And even if he comes back, you're no longer available for the same cycle. I'm going to give you clear signs that your absence is confronting him with his loss, even if he hasn't admitted it yet. Signs that your absence has triggered him emotionally. First, he reappears without any clear reason, a message, a reaction, a reply to your story. It's not because he misses you. It's because his ego needs to check whether he's still on your radar. Second, he mentions you indirectly. He brings you up through other things, a song, a phrase, a coincidental post. He can't say it outright, but his unconscious is trying to project you outward to release what he no longer has within. Third, he starts copying you emotionally. Suddenly, he's posting about growth, healthy relationships, emotional maturity, but you know it's not real. It's just a reflection of what you were, what he couldn't sustain. And here is the final revelation of this key. If your emotional detachment is firm and real, it doesn't just trigger his fear of losing you. It reveals everything he refused to see while he had you. And that confrontation is both his punishment and his opportunity, because he can use it to grow or to try and return from a place of fear. And you need to be ready to tell the difference. Because in the next point, we talk about the most decisive moment when he comes back. And you, rather than celebrating, know that what you say or do in that instant can leave a mark on him forever. I'm going to show you how to respond from your new place of power. Fifth step, how to stay firm when he returns. The response that either marks him or erases him for good. And then it happens. After all your silence, after your emotional withdrawal, after you stop looking for him, after you let go of the need, after you left without explanation, he comes back. And he doesn't come back with flowers. He doesn't return with a perfectly written apology letter. There's no existential epiphany. He comes back the only way he knows how. Maybe with an empty message. "Hey, how are you? I've been thinking about you." Or a reaction to a story, a nostalgic phrase, or maybe just pretending like nothing ever happened, expecting you to respond the way you always did, expecting the echo of who you used to be to answer him, expecting you to still be there. And this is where so many women lose everything again. Because their heart races, because the hope is reborn, because the wound reopens, and in seconds they're back in the cycle, giving access to the same man who once taught them how to let go with tears, and now they let him back in with emojis. But you're no longer here for that, because when he comes back, and yes, many do, it's not the time to celebrate, it's the time to choose from your new truth. Carl Jung said, "The repetition of patterns is not destiny, it's a lack of awareness." And if you've done all this work, if you let go without resentment, if you created an emotional void that triggered him, if you held your power without needing his attention, then you can't surrender the ending of the story. This is the moment where the cycle either breaks or restarts, and you get to decide. Because when a man comes back after sensing he might lose you, it doesn't always mean he's ready to love you the way you deserve. More often than not, he just wants to check if he still can. And if you give in, you confirm to him that he didn't lose you, and everything starts again. But this time, you'll know you had already gotten out, and that hurts twice as much. That's why the fifth step isn't just about what to do. It's about how to respond from your new self-worth, from the woman who no longer needs to prove anything. And I'll show you step by step how to stay firm when he comes back, and how to leave a mark that lasts. Don't respond automatically. Breathe. Don't react. Don't explode. Don't celebrate. He's not entering your life. He's testing the waters. And you are not easy territory. Observe his energy, not his words. Is he the same as before? Is he measuring your attention? Is he coming from uncertainty or from clarity? You're not here to decode mixed signals. You're here to hold truth. Respond if you want to, but not from the wound. If you choose to speak to him, let it be from peace. Not because you need him, not because you want to get something back, and definitely not for revenge. True power is responding with calm clarity, a phrase that disarms the male ego more than any complaint. I'm good. I'm focused on myself. I hold no resentment, but I'm no longer available for the same thing. Don't explain. You don't owe anyone a justification for your process. You don't have to tell him why you let go, what hurt, or how you've changed. Whoever comes back must understand that the only way to access you again is by rising to your new level, not by dragging you back to his. Give him the silence he doesn't know how to process. If he's not coming with something clear, real, and honest, don't give him anything. The silence of a woman who no longer needs to validate her worth is the loudest scream to a man's unconscious. You can't come back the way you used to. And here comes the real ending. It's not that you're being cruel. It's that he has to understand. You can't lose something valuable and expect to get it back without changing anything. If he comes back with the same energy, he gets the same response, distance. If he comes from a new place, he earns an evaluation, not an automatic yes. And if he never comes back, then that's exactly what it was. A lesson, an awakening, a teacher of detachment. But it was never a loss, because what you gained in this process was yourself. And I want you to hold on to this. It's not his return that matters. It's how you receive him, how you respond, how you show him, without yelling, that someone who only loved you halfway can't ever touch you the same way again. And that marks him more than your absence, because then he doesn't just feel what you lost. He feels what he has now lost, forever. And if he ever thinks of you again, and he will, he'll do it with a certainty he never had before. She was there until she wasn't, and she never came back the same. It wasn't your absence that marked him. It was the way you left, without anger, without need, without making noise, just closing your inner door and staying with yourself. Because when a woman stops being where she's not valued, she doesn't become a loss. She becomes an emotional scar he can't ignore, a presence that's unforgettable, precisely because she's no longer there to be taken lightly. Comment below, I don't need him to choose me. I already chose myself. Declare it, and let each word be a vibrational seal of your new version. Because from this moment on, you are no longer the woman waiting to be valued. You are the woman who learned to walk away without warning, and through your calm, taught him what he refused to see while you were still there. And if he comes back, it's not because he wants to recover you. It's because deep down, he now knows in silence, he can't replace you. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave a powerful like, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.